I have never met a single individual that does not have a family dysfunction. But when we talk about it, what is dysfunction, anyways? How does that happen? Why does it happen? And what can you do about it? And more specifically, you being a young adult, you're already a full grown person, and yet your parent or your parents still treat you as a child. And yet you're also matured enough to already see their deep seated brokenness and flaws. What can you do about it now? Let's talk about that. Hey guys, welcome to Wyatt Talks. I am your host, JP Kabuhat, also the Young Adults Pastor in Green Hills Christian Fellowship. Wyatt Talks is the podcast where we talk about everything you need to know about the adulting life and walking in Christ. This podcast, while streamed live, is also available on demand. Again, kamusta kayo? Welcome. I hope you're doing okay. We will talk about something that is very relevant in your life, and that is family. If you're a Filipino, you're family oriented. It means your aunts and your uncles are like your moms and your dads. Your second cousins are still your siblings, and you love family reunions. But on the flip side of that, you're not spared from family drama. There is a story that you can tell about family problems. So for the next episodes, this episodes and the episode and the next, we will be talking about different aspects of that or of what can make family problematic. To set the stage, however, we want to give a base on what dysfunction is. And then towards the end today, we will try to answer a few questions regarding honoring your parents or through the dysfunction, if you may. Now, disclaimer regarding all the topics or the possible ideas that we can dive in with this very broad description of what we will be talking about today. We definitely won't be able to cover everything. That is why you can comment your questions, or you can even send it to us via personal message, and we would gladly reply to you or reach out to you and help you with whatever query you have with regards to this topic. To help us understand more about family dysfunction, we invited a couple who both are pastoral counselors specializing in family counseling in VCF. Ken, the husband, earned his counseling diploma in the Loyola School of Theology, while Benny, the wife, is currently earning her PhD in counseling psychology in DLSU. They're hosts in a radio program entitled Heartline in FEBC, while they also have their own podcast called Beings Together. Let us all give a warm welcome to Ken and Benny Guillermo. Hello.
Thank you very much for that very joyful welcoming, Pastor JP. Thank you. We are privileged to be here. Of course, kapag tayo ay ginagamit ni Lord sa ministry na field natin, it is indeed a blessing. So I am glad to be here. Of course, my wife too. We are glad to be here, and hopefully, makaserve tayo kay Lord sa pagkakataong nito. Thank you for having us.
Yes, I share the same excitement, no? Kagaya nung kay Kenny G. Thank you for having us here today, Pastor JP. And hello po sa lahat ng mga nakikinig at nanonood sa YA Talks tonight.
Welcome, and actually thank you also for accepting this, and it is the pleasure also namin that you will be with us in this very important discussion. But before we go there, we want to hear a little bit of your testimony. Paano kayo napunta sa counseling ministry?
Okay, so nakakalungkot, Pastor JP, but it's a fact, na maraming counselors ay nagmula sa problema. Okay? And hindi kami exempted dito. Bagamat matagal na akong Kristiyano, I grew up in a Christian family, hindi rin exempted, And it's because there are problems in the family na hindi na define, And there's a dysfunction, kagaya nung introduction mo kanina, Yung story namin nagsimula, bakit kami napasok sa counseling, sapagkat early on in our marriage, marami pa akong wounds, na unprocessed, And that led me into active addiction. Okay, drug addiction, alcoholism, no, and gambling, no. So nag-manifest yung addiction ko, no. And because of that, nangailangan ako ng help. So I entered into a facility. Definitely may counselor din ako doon. So natulungan ako. And because of that help na nakuha ko, nagkaroon ako ng realization na pwede ko itong itulong sa ibang tao. Okay? So dahil doon, ito yung quick story kung paano ako na-open sa counseling. And because walang school here in the country that would specifically serve drug addiction, pumasok ako sa school kung saan tinuturo dito ang counseling for the families and marriages. So, natuon ako dito and then natuto na rin. So, nag-broaden yung aking desire to help out in counseling. So, ito yung fast forward testimony kung bakit ako nasa counseling ganon.
Okay.
So siya talagang dahilan.
Ikaw talaga yung dahilan.
Yes, sadly.
Pero ang problema, nagagamit pa rin ni Lord eventually.
Praise God. That is
good
true. That is
story
true.
about that.
Right. Ako naman, Pastor JP, my entry into my own therapeutic experience is really, like what I said, parang resulta lang din doon or it just followed dahil nagkakaroon na nga rin siya ng sarili niyang therapeutic work. However, doon sa counseling namin, sa marital counseling namin, it's more focused on behavior modification, lalo na avoiding any trigger that might bring us back to addiction, no? So after successfully completing that work, I thought to myself, hindi pwedeng si Kenneth lang ang maayos mo. Dapat may mga issue din
Kasali
ako.
ka rin dapat, di ba?
May mga issue din ako, di ba? Na kailangan ko ring ayusin. So that's the time that I decided to, you know what, why not dive deep into this whole therapeutic experience where not just one aspect of my life is getting healed, not just my marriage, but even my previous, like what you said earlier, no, yung mga deep-seated wounds natin, mga issues, can also be redressed, provided corrective emotional experience na tinatawag. So that facilitated my own education and training na rin sa counseling work.
Wow. God can truly use our brokenness for His glory. And like what I mentioned kanina, problema mo ngayon, hindi mo alam kung pwede magamit ni Lord in the future. Kaya you have to trust His healing power. But enough of that, let me go to the meat of our conversation. We want to have a hefty conversation first about dysfunction, which will provide us a theoretical framework for the next months. Next week, sorry. Next months. For
Excited
the next,
ka, Pastor JP, no?
Tatlong buwan natin pag-uusapan to? Hindi. So, we want to understand first, we want to have a base definition about dysfunction muna. So, let's begin with definition of terms. Ken, Benny, what do you mean when you say dysfunction?
Yeah, I feel like before I can provide a definition para sa salitang dysfunctional, no, I feel like I must first explain how a family should be viewed and then how a functional family should operate.
Correct.
And then I can go towards, defining dysfunctional family. Family systems theory would tell you that a family should be viewed as a system where each individual member is considered a unit. Okay? And each unit, bawat miyembro ng pamilya, is required to perform a certain level of functionality.
Correct.
Functional, ibig sabihin, it rests on balance and reciprocity.
Okay.
Bawat member in the family, in the system, bawat unit in the system delivers a certain function.
Okay.
Okay. Para magkaroon ng tinatawag na balance, homeostasis, if we might call it now, merong baseline na tinatawag.
Okay.
Now, that's the picture of a functional family. Bawat miyembro nagfa-function para sa katuparan yung mga nais ng bawat isa, mag-grow ang bawat isa, maging happy ang bawat isa.
Of course.
Now, nagiging dysfunctional ang family kapag one member, at least one member, is over-functioning or under-functioning, worse, not functioning. No? So may pinapabayaan na role, may pinapabayaan na ambag, yung iba nagni-neglect ng role nila, no?
Yeah.
So kung makikita natin ito, yung mga common representation nito is this, It could be non-functioning na yung parent kasi ay may tatay pala ako.
Mhm.
Hindi ko man lang nakita, hindi ko man lang naranasan siya. Hindi ko man
Mhm.
lamang siya na-experience, or over-functioning naman. Isa sa mag-asawa is monopolizing the decision-making process.
Right.
Hindi ka pwedeng mag-decide, ako
Mhm.
lang, 'di ba? Lahat ng mga
Oh, wow,
major
yeah.
decisions sa akin, minor sa'yo, pero I don't know, 'di ba? Kung kailan ba nagiging madalas yung minor decision, something like
Mhm.
that. So nagkakaroon ng over-functioning. Under-functioning naman is parang passive ka na lang. Parang
Mm.
hinahayaan mo na, sige, kung anong gusto mo, dun tayo.
Mhm.
So then, that becomes a dysfunctional family. Pero meron pang ibang mga representation ang pagiging
Mhm. Yes.
dysfunctional.
And nakakalungkot, Pastor JP, na ang pagkakaalam ng marami about dysfunction ay yung obvious na, no? Halimbawa, meron ng affairs in the family, meron ng addiction in the family, meron ng attacks in the family, no? Well, that is just the presenting problem, no? We have to understand that the presenting problem is not the real problem.
Mhm.
So yung real problem goes deeper. And there are 6 traits, no? According kay Friesen, meron siyang material na ginamit. What makes a dysfunctional family ay napakahalaga na ma-discover natin so that bago pa man pumutok, bago pa man magkaroon ng affair, bago pa man magkaroon ng addiction, ma-identify na natin kung ano yung nagbi-build up for a dysfunctional family. So there are 6 things. Quickly, bahagi ko sa inyo, Una ay yung communication,
Okay.
In a family na hindi malayang nakapagpapahayag ng emotions, ang isang bata, ang isang magulang, kapag minimize yung emotions, kapag shutdown yung bata, nagiging dysfunctional na ito. Okay? It's not just the kid having a space, but the kid being heard. Okay? Napapakinggan ba yung damdamin niya? Pinapahintulutan ba natin maramdaman niya yung fear? Pinapahintulutan ba natin maramdaman niya yung anger? Di ba? In most cases, na pumapasok sa counseling room, pastor, nakakalungkot sapagkat pinapagalitan nila yung kanilang mga anak kapag natatakot. So, hindi na welcome. And when this happens, yung bata, hindi na siya nagiging open sa kanyang emotions.
Parang
Natatrauma na siya.
na-review ako dun
Oo. So maraming parents ang ganyan, na minsan ikinakategorya pa natin sa church, di ba? Hindi ka dapat patakot kasi may faith ka, di ba? So nakakalungkot kapag hindi na-welcome yung emotions, yung communication na-alter. Sumunod na factor kung saan nakakapagbigay ng dysfunctions in the family ay yung tinatawag natin na power. Okay? Yung power kung saan isang tao lang ang nagpapalakad, There should always be a leader. Sinabi naman sa atin sa Bible, Pero ang leader kailangan concerned din siya sa family. As kagaya ng sinabi ni Benny kanina about Bowen, na yung family is a system. So kailangan yung bawat isang member, bawat isang unit doon sa system, alam natin kung ano yung kailangan ng mga members natin. So power should not be for one person only and for his benefit. Kailangan ang benefit ng power ay distributed to the family. Pangatlong bagay kung saan nakapagbibigay ng dysfunctions in the family ay yung tinatawag natin na roles. Okay? Yung roles ng bawat isang family member, nabanggit kanina ni Benny, yung over-functioning and under-functioning. Kapag walang roles na pinagkakatiwala sa bawat isang member ng family, nagiging dysfunctional. Kasi nagiging under-functioning na yung bata o yung father kasi palagi na lang si mommy yung may control.
Correct.
Okay? So kapag walang roles ang bawat isa, kapag hindi nirerespeto ang roles ng bawat isang member ng family, nakakapaglikha ito ng dysfunction. Sumunod, pang-apat is rules. Okay? Napakahalaga that in every family, meron tayong sinusunod na rules. Nakakalungkot, pastor, kasi most parents right now na pumapasok sa counseling room, nagagalit sila emotionally, hindi naman nila nasabi kung bakit. Okay? Bawal palang matulog ng late, di ba? Hindi clear sa family. So setting up rules is very important for a functional family na napag-usapan bago natin patawan ng consequence. Kailangan alam muna ng bata kung saan siya nagkamali. Kailangan clear yung rules. Sumunod, ay mahalaga din na nakakapaglikha ng dysfunctional, and on the other hand, functional family ay kapag clear yung goals and purposes ng family. Ibig sabihin, ganito, pastor, clear ba? Pinanghihintulutan mo ba yung anak mo na mangarap ng malaya? Hindi ba? Nakakalungkot, pastor, Galing ako sa seminary, Maraming mga estudyante na naging kaklase ko, no?
Mm.
Ang ginawang rehab ang seminary. They were pushed by their parents to enter into seminary. Okay?
Mm.
There's nothing wrong about seminary. But for me, ang mali hindi na panghintulutan mangarap yung mga members ng family.
Mm.
Walang goals, walang purpose. Ang goals at purpose na inilatag sa anak, sa family, ay goals nila. Okay?
Mm.
Hindi naging malaya yung mga bata na mangarap. Ano ba yung gusto mo? Photography. Di ba? Ano ba yung gusto mo? Di ba? So, it's very important. And kagaya ng study na shinare ko ngayon, nakapaglilikha ito ng isang dysfunction sa family. Kapag hindi malayang mangarap ang isang bata,
Mhm.
kahit ang magulang, no, nakakapagdulot ito ng dysfunction. On the other side of the spectrum, kapag ka ang bata ay welcome to dream, no, welcome siya to be who he wants to be, welcome siya to share doon sa communication, nakakapaglikha ito ng functional or healthy family. Okay? So yan yung mga qualities, pastor, no, na nagbe-make up ng isang dysfunctional family.
All right. I'm sure you guys are feeling this. I'm feeling this not just as a kid, as a son, but also as a father right now. And man, there are many things that I gotta change. Yeah, but we're all works in progress. So yeah.
Yes, we are learning,
So
pastor.
many things that I'm taking home from this one. So thank you so much. But perhaps just like everyone, we want to understand that when you go through such dysfunction, when communication, power, roles, rules, goals, purposes were done wrongly, there are consequences. And in your purview, what are some of the effects of people when they grow up, when they grow up sa pamilya na merong dysfunctional aspects doon sa mga ito?
Right. You know what, Pastor JP? One of the saddest evaluative comments no, na narinig ko about a person's family is this. My family is not a safe space. I don't feel safe in my own family. In fact, pag pumapasok ako sa bahay, feeling ko nandun lahat ng threats. You know, and I think if you're a parent, parang ang sakit no,
Yeah,
that
masakit
you're,
yun.
as a parent, you're supposed to foster and cultivate this atmosphere of nurturing and loving.
Yeah, and that's why you're
caring.
sacrificing a lot so that
Right.
your kid would feel that. And
Yeah, but iba yung nararamdaman ng bata, no? And definitely, when a person is able to detect a threat, any form of threat, may it be a threat because of the unknown, hindi mo alam, galit ba ngayon si Papa? Maayos ba yung timpla niya? Pwede ba ako magkwento sa kanya? Pwede ba ako magpaalam sa kanya na gagamit ako ng credit card niya para may pangbili ako ng BTS ticket? I don't know, no? Or baka mapapagalitan ako, you know? Or it could be a threat because unfamiliar, no? Parang ano na naman tong pinapatry sa akin ni mama, 'di ba? Lahat to, these are sources of threat that can activate one's nervous system, no? Not in a good way but in a bad way. In other words, pwedeng ma-dysregulate ang nervous system mo when you are constantly exposed to threats of the unknown, threats of physical harm or emotional pain, threats of incongruence. Sabi ni mama, mahal niya ako pero pinapahiya niya ako in front of our churchmates, of her friends, no? Incongruent environment yan, no? Or threats of the uncertainty. No, ano ba, makakapagtapos ba ako ng pag-aaral? Things like that. No, so every time threats are present in the family unit, in the family system, a person sets herself up for dysregulation. And ito na yung mga common na naririnig natin, I feel anxious. May anxiety ako. And if anxiety is felt, succeeding maladaptive psychological mechanisms follow. Anong example nito? Anong kaakibat nito? Enmeshment. Right? Enmeshment or basically emotionally fused ka. Dito yung parang it's a symptom of codependency kung saan wala kang sariling emosyon. Kahit masaya ka ngayon dahil nakipag-connect ka with a friend, pero umuwi si tatay ng galit. Umuwi si mami ng galit. Yung emosyon ko na happy dahil sa connectedness ko with a friend, na neglect ko yon at parang default, may emosyon ako para sa galit na emosyon ni Papa. Ano yon? So there's enmeshment. Sobrang
Right.
codependent yung emotion mo, yung behavior mo doon sa emosyon ni tatay or emosyon at behavior ng ibang tao. Now, because of this enmeshment, what follows is triangulation. And I think Kennedy has a perfect example
Yes,
for
before
triangulation.
triangulation, Pastor, no, going
Mhm.
back to the question, ano, yung effects, no, may isang counselee ako na nagpunta sa office, no, and itong mother na ito, bitbit niya yung kanyang young adult, no,
Oh.
around 18 years old na lalaki, no, he's a
Mhm.
student, at nung tinaas niya yung kanyang braso, no, nung pinakita ng bata, pinakita ng mother, nakita ko, no, pinakita sa akin, ang mga hampas ng sinturon. Okay? So, he was beaten up by his dad, no? Sinisinturon siya kapag yung father niya ay nagagalit. Okay? Pag umuuwing pagod, nagagalit. So, until such time, napapayag namin yung father to meet with me. Okay? And then I talked to the dad, no? Father, no? Tinanong ko, what is happening in the family? Kung bakit kinakailangan mong disiplinahin, no, ng pisikal at masakit ang iyong anak. Alam po ninyo, Pastor, no, ito yung nakakalungkot. Dahan-dahang yumuko yung ama at umiyak. At ang sabi niya sa akin during that time, buti nga siya, sinturon lang. Ako, hinahampas ng upuan. So what I'm trying to say, Pastor, is this, no? Yung dysfunctions ay namamana. Napo-project din ito, no? Ito yung isa sa mga effects na masakit na nakikita namin madalas sa counseling room, no? Na ita-transfer, na ipo-project sa ito yung natanggap ko sa family ko, ito rin ang igaganti ko sa family ko. Okay? So, at nakakalungkot sapagkat prevalent ito kapag ka iti-trace natin, we have this material called genogram, no? Ang maraming problema ng mga kabataan ay namana nila sa kanilang mga magulang. And when you talk to their parents, namana rin nila ito sa kanilang dysfunctional family. So nakakalungkot, no? Ito yung mga ilan sa mga epekto ng dysfunctions in our community, no? Sa na nakikita natin na prevalent nowadays.
Right. And if I may flesh that out, Pastor James, no, isa rin sa mga namamana ng mga pamilya, no, is yung paggamit ng third party. Kapag
That's a triangulation.
That's the triangulation, correct? No? So kapag intense yung emotional interaction ng two members of the family pero hindi nila alam paano ito haharapin, ang tendency is gagamit ng third party in the form of anak, no? Or maybe sasabihin ko to sa mother-in-law ko, gusto mo ba tawagan ko na yung mother-in-law ko? Gusto mo ba tawagan ko na yung tatay mo para kausapin ka? No? Nag-i-involve ng third party kasi ayaw nilang harapin yung trabaho, the deep, messy, painful work, but growth-promoting work na harapin natin ito ng maayos. Bakit ba paulit-ulit tayong naandito? Bakit paulit-ulit nating pinag-aawayan ang pera? At ginagamit lagi natin si Junior. Bakit lagi na lang si Junior ang ginagamit natin? Diba? Nawi-weaponize pa natin yung bata para gamitin pang atake doon sa tao. So that's an example of triangulation. At ito, hindi lamang ito harmful sa bata na ginagamit or any third party na ginagamit, pero lalo na sa inyong mag-asawa or sa inyong dalawang conflicting parties. Why? Kasi hindi mo natututunan kung paano mag-manage ng emotional tension in an adaptive manner. So I feel like when it comes to triangulation, kailangan talaga yung ma-learn yung process of detriangulation. That's just one of the many mechanisms na pwedeng mamana, no? Because of that as well, because of triangulation, hindi natutunan paano mag-manage ng conflict, kaya ang tao gusto na rin lang iwasan yung conflict, which is very unrealistic, Pastor James,
Yeah.
di ba? Kasi as long as you're interacting with someone, there is relationship. And relationship, because there's dynamic, meron pa rin talagang conflict, merong disagreement. But to say that ayoko nang magkaroon ng conflict, dapat yung relationship natin, yung family natin, walang conflict, that's a very unrealistic expectation. What we want, Pastor JP, is for two people in conflict to be able to handle this in a very adaptive manner. No? Otherwise, pag hindi natin ito natututunan, another effect of this dysfunctionality in the family, of course, is stonewalling, breakdown na ng communication. Hindi na kita kakausapin, Pastor JP. Ano pa man ang gawin mo, ano pa mang emosyon ang ibigay mo sa akin, wala ka na sa akin. Cut off na tayo. And that's a sign of a communication breakdown, which is definitely not growth producing in the family. So there are many mechanisms na hindi nakakatulong that can be felt, can be manifested by a family member as a result of the dysfunctionality in the family.
And you guys, you're listening here as children of parents who perhaps have done a few things, or you live perhaps in a household that you've related with a few things here that you can see the effect in you, and that is why we would love to help you. If you guys need help with figuring it out, we got an excellent counseling ministry here in Green Hills Christian Fellowship. You just send a message in our social media platforms. We would love to reach out to you. And yeah, so please consider that. Let me just go back to our topic at hand. And now we want to be practical. Okay, assuming our listeners want to make tangible steps after this podcast, how can people, how they want to address the dysfunction, specifically young adults, that happened in their lives or that's still happening in their family? What should they do?
Sige, practically, Pastor, no, in my years of experience in the counseling ministry, isang mahalagang bagay ay palakasin natin yung communication in the family. Let us welcome emotions, no? Let us welcome beliefs, no? And before we correct, we have to learn how to accept, no?
Okay.
Sa totoong buhay, Pastor, no, mahirap baguhin yung hindi mo ina-acknowledge, di ba? So for families, no, a practical thing that you can do is that to give a safe space for the family members. Safe space na pwede kang kausapin, pwede silang maging honest sa'yo, pwede kang tanggapin, no, as you are, no, na walang pretensions, no. Nakakalungkot, Pastor, no. I grew up in a Christian family, no, and nakakalungkot sapagkat ang na-acknowledge lang sa family ay kapag spirituality,
Right.
okay? And may mga pagkakataon na kapag hindi nila naiintindihan yung game, it becomes demonic, no? Parang ganyan, ano? Lumaki ako, I grew up in the 80s na ganyan yung perspective sa family. So, hindi ako nakapag-explore, na-halt yung aking exploration sa mga magaganda, sa mga activities, no? Sapagkat naging highlight na, no? So, what I'm trying to say is that practically, para makatulong tayo sa family natin kung gusto natin na magkaroon ng mas maayos is to build up a strong communication in the family.
Right. And siguro at this point naman, Pastor Japes, no, kausapin ko yung I will talk as a parent,
Okay.
Because just like you, I'm also a parent. And sa akin na-experience ko na parang I tend to judge what I cannot understand.
Yes.
I dislike what I do not understand. No? As a parent, may ganun na akong tendency. So pag nakikita ko yung anak ko singing all this, songs that with language or with lines na, anong language yun? Hindi ko naintindihan. Parang
Korean, no?
Ha?
Korean.
Nakaka-alarm, di ba?
Parang naa-alarm
Nagigets ko yun.
ako,
Kasi
diba?
parang the protective nature kicks in.
Exactly.
Parang, and then you would look at ano ba yung history na pinanood.
That's right. Oh.
Exactly
And
what
then-
I am doing.
And then you will like it.
Ganda pala.
Eventually, you like it.
Ganda pala.
That's the hope that you will enter the world of your child, diba?
Exactly. And that goes to show that because you are a young adult already, hindi ka na bata, may agency ka, dapat palakasin mo na to. Sense of agency para sa mga young adults is your capability, your ability to use your mental faculty to reason, make judicious decisions. Use that in letting us, parents, understand what's going on with you. No? Kasi every time you refuse or you succumb to the pre-programmed behavior na quiet na lang ako, magtatago na lang ako sa kwarto, di naman nila ako naintindihan. Mas lalang hindi ko maintindihan. So even if you feel you have this advance mag-isip mentality na, no, na parang alam ko na magiging sagot dito ni Daddy. If through your mature sense of agency, kaya mong ipaintindi sa aming parent na may merit, may advantage yung pinanggagalingan mo, yung pinaglalaban mo na concert, then please use the communication. Let me understand, because at base, if I don't understand something, aversive ako doon. Hindi ko naintindihan yun. So I guess that's me trying to highlight your young adult agency. Mas develop na ngayon ang inyong pag-iisip, ang iyong kapasidad to reason. Use that. Okay? Use that in identifying your desired outcomes for your family. You know what, Mom and Dad? Nakakapagod na yung ganitong setup, ha? Na parang tuwing nandito tayo sa table, parang rinig na rinig natin yung huni ng ipis. If ipis could, even hum. So we need to stop this, Mom, diba? We need to stop this, Dad. Can we come up with a better solution, no? Aside from just stonewalling and disregarding that there really is a problem in the family, no? So when you get to that, when you're able to bank on your agency to reason, to present your case to your parents, then go towards alignment of goals. Ikaw ba, Daddy, ayaw mo rin ba yung ganito na hindi tayo nag-uusap tuwing nasa hapagkainan tayo? Ikaw ba, Mami, gusto mo ba na talagang pag nagga-gather tayo sa dining table, ang pinag-uusapan natin yung buhay ng iba instead of our own dynamics? Do you really like that? I think it's so shallow that our conversations are focused on other people. Tapos tayo, wala lang. 'Di ba? Very transactional. So alignment of goals. What do you want, Mom? Because this is what I want. Dad, is this also aligned with your vision of a happy, functional, blessed family? Then so what can we do? Let's get to identifying actionable points, no? Yung practical, gawin natin yan, Dad. Okay, if we think na, your way of getting to the goal is that, and then I'll come up with my own. That's respectful din naman sa, abilities ko. Baka mamaya, ibang level yung requirement na gusto mo, di ba? But this is our goal, and this is, I think, what I can do to get to that goal or contribute to the realization of that goal. So action points, okay?
Yes.
And here you will see that the process of healing, kasi the identification of problem in the family, it's not linear. The causality is circular. Kung may problema ka, it affects me. Consciously, unconsciously, and it affects my way of relating to you, which inadvertently affects how you relate with other people in the family. No? So if that is the nature of the problem in the family, yung solution ganun din. 'Di ba? Ambagan din tayo. Ambagan din tayo in coming up with solutions. Like, Dad, kapag galit ka dahil naglalasada si Mommy, bigay mo na yun sa kanya kasi, nagpakahirap naman siya and all. But if you don't like,
Ambagan.
di ba, ambagan, di ba, identify your contribution na doable, na kaya mong gawin para ma-realize ninyo yung goal na, this is a happy and blessed and functional family. No? So,
Okay.
couple of things that, we can remember para ma-create natin yung vision natin for our family, di ba?
It's interesting that these are the things that a typical young adult could actually do in their work, in their other relationships, but they tend not to do when it comes to their parents. And the challenge is, don't give up in communicating with them as well. Don't give up in convincing them. Don't give up in aligning with them. Don't give up in creating action points with them, or striking a balance of ambagan, because that's how you do it with other relationships that you have.
That's right.
So you just want to apply that again now with your family, which is something, a very important relationship that you have. And speaking of very important relationships or very important families, we want to expand that and think of church. So when we think of church regarding this, how can the church help when it comes to family dysfunction of its members?
Okay, siguro, Pastor, no? Coming from experience, when I attended the church that I am in right now, naramdaman ko yung acceptance eh. So, it's really important for church to be relevant even to the dysfunctions, no? Even to the families who have addiction, no? Maganda na ang church maging relevant sa kahit anong experience ng isang tao. And how do we do that? Para sa akin, practically, acceptance, no? Yung pagtanggap natin sa isang tao regardless kung saan siya nagmula, anong family niya, anong family background niya, it's very important na ang church ay relevant sa pagtanggap, no? And then offering a safe space. Okay? Ibig sabihin, yung pagtanggap sa kanya, pag-acknowledge sa mga wounds niya, yung hindi natin sinushu away. Nakakalungkot kasi, pastor, no, maraming churches, no, napag-preachan ko na rin ng mga churches na masyado silang rigid, no, na nawawalan na ng room yung mga taong may mga mistakes. And I believe hindi ito ang pinunta ni Jesus eh. I believe pumunta ang Panginoong Kristo to seek and save the lost, no? So nawa maging mandatos din nating mga churches na maging representative ng Panginoong Kristo.
So it's like the preconditions for growth, for change should also be provided by the church. Naniniwala kasi ako, Pastor Jeep, sa tinatawag na ability to provide corrective emotional experience. No? So, and I feel like malaki ang role ng church na maibigay yun sa isang individual who might be coming from a dysfunctional family, you know, experiencing the ill effects of deficits, no, in terms of acceptance, yung sinasabi kanina, no, ang kawalan nito, understanding. So nararapat talaga na maipahayag natin na come as you are welcome to church, you are accepted here, and then we'll journey on from there, 'di ba? And then I think also that kasi ito, Pastor Japes, hindi ko alam, no, sa karanasan mo bilang isang young youth pastor ba, no, may karanasan ka rin sa pag yung passion ng kabataan, yung passion ng young adults, sabi nga ng social scientist natin, di ba, na si Dr. Karandang, parang hinihimok niya yung mga young adults, yung mga kabataan na turuan nyo kaming matatanda, no, to be passionate again, no, to be passionate again. And that's a good thing, no, yung mabigyan ulit ng buhay yung mga matatanda because of the passion na nakukuha nila sa mga bata. But it's also a reality, Pastor Japes, na minsan kapag yung passion natin unguided, uninformed, hate-driven, meron din itong ill effects,
Yeah.
'di ba? Kaya nga ang dominant script minsan is accuse others, excuse myself. 'Di ba? The mentality of blaming guided by that passion na parang nawala na, no? So dito, nakikita ko na meron pa ring role na magagampanan ang simbahan. And that is the church being both a synagogue and a symposium, no? Synagogue kasi kahit anong pa man po ang gawin natin, if we really want to live out these godly values, kailangan pa rin po natin ng didactic teaching about the Word of God. 'Di ba? In Psalm 128, dinefine po ang happiness ng isang tao as a byproduct of following the ways of God. So I feel that kailangan pa rin po yun ipagpatuloy ng simbahan. Yung didactic teaching, ano ang mga sinasabi ng Bible, ano yung mga pamamaraan na pwede nating gawin kapag ganito ang mga problema in the family. The truths, the biblical truths, kailangan maging anchored pa rin po tayo, and the church has a major role in that. The second is this, we want to balance that didactic teaching, no, yung pagiging synagogue ng church, with symposium. No? And when I think of symposium, hindi lamang siya yung tipong free seminar, free webinar, no? Like na, ganun pa rin, isa pa rin yung nagsasalita, no? But when I think of symposium, I look at the symposium na picture natin sa mga ancient Greeks, sila Aristotle, sila Plato, wherein there is an encouragement of exchanging ng ideas in a friendly, free, and open manner, no? So parang dito, binabalance natin yung exposure natin, constant hearing of the biblical truths through the preaching sa church, but at the same time, the lay leaders, the church workers, collaborating, talking about the hard and deep questions about life. Kasi kung hindi ito ibibigay ng church, saan nila ito kukunin?
Right.
'Di ba?
Correct.
Saan sila magtatanong?
Mhm.
'Di ba?
Mm.
Saan sila makakaramdam na ano 'tong view na determinism? Saan ko ito pwedeng itanong?
Mm.
Baka kay Pastor JP I could do that, no? So
Mhm.
those are just some of the things na pwedeng gampanan ng church. The church being a source of, preaching ng mga biblical truths, but at the same time encourages collaboration, open communication about deep and heavy questions about faith and life in general.
All right. And I wish I could continue asking more questions, but we only have a few minutes left. And we received online a question actually from two people. And the question is, what if my parent or our parents are not open to have such conversations? Um, I wanted to talk. I wanted to communicate everything. I want to let them know what I feel. I want to convince them why I want to do this. I want to have action plans and I want to encourage ambagan in our community, but in our family. Pero shut down ako. What are some of the things we can do if that's the case?
Well, for me, no, ang madalas kong sinasabi, Pastor, kapag ka na minimize or hindi napanghihintulutan yung bata na magsalita, no. Ito very practical lang ito, no. And madalas itong tool na ginagamit kapag ka we want to strengthen the communication in the family. Now, kanina pinag-aralan natin yung communication as part of dysfunctional and functional families, no. And to be honest, hindi lang ito pa pwedeng sa magulang lang manggaling. Pwede rin itong magmula sa bata. Okay? So pwede rin na yung bata ang magbigay ng opportunity for family members to be vulnerable. Okay? As part of the family system, pwede rin naman yung bata ang mag-take ng charge to be better, no? Para maging growth-producing yung family. Well, ang practical thing na ginagawa namin, pinapractice namin sa counseling room, teaching the kid, no, ay yung tinatawag natin na iMessages. Okay? Yung iMessages, ang composition nito ay yung expression ng feelings. Okay? Expression ng feelings, expression kung bakit niya naramdaman ito, at expression kung ano yung hope niya. It's very simple and it's not in the attacking form. No? Kumbaga, kung gagawa ako ng example, ganito. Dad, I feel sad because you do not listen to me.
Oh, wow.
I hope that next time you can give me an opportunity, okay? Every time in a conversation, kapag ka nag-start tayo sa salitang ikaw, okay, it's in a form of attack and then
Yeah.
the defenses would go
Yeah,
up. Diba?
definitely.
So if you will start with the word I feel sad, and then you start with their emotions. Hindi naman pa pwedeng i-command ka ng emotions, di ba? So I feel sad, I am angry, I am sad that this happened. I wish. Yung wish kasi is very important because it's giving a role to the parent na meron kang pa pwedeng gawin, Papa. So an iMessage is a very clear, concise iMessages. Ginagamit natin yan sa counseling para makapag-usap ang family members na hindi attacking form.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and if I might add to that, Pastor JP, in family systems where dysfunctionality is very much pronounced, no? Ang unang mga intervention dito is to learn to differentiate. And it takes only one differentiated member in the family to bring about change, no? Kung kahit yung parents mo parang dinidisregard na may problema, pero ikaw, buo sa puso at isip mo na gusto mong baguhin yung dynamics ng family. It only takes your ability to differentiate yourself. It's a skill na maaari mong matutunan, no? To be able to bring about change. And an example of this is, sige lang, ipagpatuloy mo yung pag-communicate mo ng iMessage. Kasi ito, parents' perspective lang din ha. Baka kaya ayaw din simulan or makipag-usap ng parent mo about the issues in the family is because hindi rin niya alam paano tanggapin or harapin yung content, and more importantly, hindi niya alam paano ba i-accept yung mabigat na emotion na itatapon or ilalagay sa table. So, with your application of iMessage or yung iba nga rich method pa, yung tipong nagpapaalam that, can I level with you? Can I report how I truly feel? I feel sad when I was not allowed to go out with my friends. As a result, I had to retreat from you, not join you for dinner. And I also do not like ignoring you. I hope that we can talk more freely about my concerns, my wants, and my wishes. No, so that's also a rich method. And if you consistently apply the I message para makapag-express ka ng saloobin mo, you are also unconsciously, hindi mo alam, no? Modeling for your parents what it's like, how it's like to express an emotion na for your parents may be unfamiliar, bago, hindi ko pa to na-experience before na ako dati, pag magsabi ako, sasampalin ako kaagad eh. 'Di ba? Or go to your room agad, no? But with my daughter telling me now na parang, ganito lang pala yun, with her iMessages, I feel like maybe I can also learn that in the future. So, go ahead. Kung hindi pa man gusto ng parents, sige lang, ipagpatuloy mo lang yung mga iMessage because you are also modeling for your parents how it's no how to manage disagreement in a respectful manner.
I message everyone and I hope we can still stay to talk, but we've run out of time. And it's a broad topic. That's why if you have more specific questions that you want to ask, please feel free to send a message and we would gladly reply to you and talk about it. There will still be our guest next week. And next week we'll be talking about living and thriving in a blended family. So we hope that you would continue to join that next week. This has been your host, JP. I'm together with Ken and Benny. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram and YouTube. That'll be it for tonight. See you next week. Bye.